Yo guys, welcome to another video. Elvia also just jumped up on the table. Why is she wet? Why are you wet? Why are you wet on your back? That's weird. So yeah, I guess it's been a bit because my last video was like on the Queen Azamina deck, and I was talking about how I was going to locals, and I have been to locals, and it's been a couple of days. It's Wednesday now. I've had like so busy last couple of days with work, but I really wanted to do an update on that deck because I did pretty well actually. I think I went 4-1 in 5 rounds locals, and I feel like the deck really performed. Like I almost wish that this was the deck I went to YCS Birmingham with, to be honest. And it was sort of supposed to be this meme build, sort of, where I wouldn't play any Link Masters and I would play Queen Azamina, just cause why the heck not? But it actually turned out to be really, really powerful, and I have some reflections that I wanted to share, and yeah. And then I also wanted to do some combos, just practice some combos, because, well, in the last video I showed, I think, and we worked on a stellar combo, and which sort of went full wombo and summoned Dragoon and all sorts of stuff. And let me tell you, I did not even make Dragoon one time during this locals, which was pretty hilarious, to be honest. But I did also get hand trapped a bunch, to be honest, and yeah, I did get hand trapped quite a lot, and so you know, maybe there would have been some cases where I would have made Dragoon, but yeah, evidently not the most important part of the deck. You could probably take out Dragoon, although I would not take out Muddy Mud Dragon. I actually made Muddy Mud Dragon without making Dragoon in one game. And yeah, basically how it went was round 1 I played against Fire Kings, which was a close match. We went to game 3, but I don't know if you want to believe me, but I kind of outgrinded him, because the Azamina cards really do grind very, very much, and you can also OTK quite easily into the Fire King monsters with Saint Azamina, because they have so much attack. So you can just crash into them, and that kind of helped me out. And game 2 I was actually also against Fire Kings, and my opponent was a bit he wasn't familiar with Saint Azamina, so I kind of caught him off guard with her crashing effect, and also her effect that makes it so that they can't target their own stuff, also really good against Fire King. And then game round 3 I was against I can't actually remember. I was against, oh yeah, round 3 I lost. I was against Fiendsmith, Bestial, Tempai. I played against a really good opponent, Game 1, he had Vela and Nibiru. I actually was able to play around the Nibiru by setting up an early Ilya Sylvia, but he had the Vela, and so yeah. Also, by the way, sorry for skipping ahead. My drink for today is just instant coffee in Tilda's Moment cup. Then game 2, I won. I can't really remember what happened. I think he just didn't have too many hand traps. And then game 3, he just had the nuts. He had double Vela, Ash, Fuvelos, Imperm. No, wait, that wasn't in the match. But he had like double Vela, Ash, Mac, and Fuvelos, I think also. And then he top decked the Kaiman. So I was just, that was just a bit unfortunate, to be honest. I mean, he's a better player than me, so he should probably beat me, but that was still, the top deck Kaiman, and also the fact I had to use an Ash Blossom on his Magnamod just to prevent him from searching a Tempai card. Just think Magnamod it's so frustrating that it's this extremely good hand trap that is somehow also a Tempai starter. Like, I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, and then game 4 I played against Malice, and my opponent bricked really hard. And then match 4 I played against Malice. And then match 5 I played against Crystron, actually. And it was a really fun matchup, but I feel like I kind of won the dice roll, so I just won game 1, lost game 2, won game 3. Nothing too much to talk about, to be honest. But yeah, so I was really feeling this deck. I guess I'll go over the cards. But it's pretty standard stuff. Let's see. Of course, 3 Elset and 3 Sylvie. Oh, like this. And then 1 Elset Azamina, 1 Estella, 1 Rusha, and 1 Diabellstar. I play 1 Estella because I really like just grabbing her out of tails when I have my Omni up. But to be honest, most of the time I just happen to have a Sylvie or a set, and I went, either normal summon Sylvie, or I went L set and grabbed Sylvie because I didn't have the Omni. So I still like Estella in the deck for the combos, because you can also just search her sometimes midway through your combo and use the fusion spell to summon her out. And she's also really nice in grind games. I think that one of Estella, at least for me, it just makes a lot of sense. It's also not like this deck has a ton of starters, so, yeah. And then 3 Tails, I play 3 because in this build there is quite a lot of way of putting a spellcaster illusion on the board. And then 3 Wanted, of course, and then 3 Debtors, and that was the kind of meme choice, I suppose. But this card actually, ended up being really, really, really good. Like, this would help me going first, making an Omni negate really early. Going second, this can help you break the board. It gives you follow-up for your next turn. You can even just send it to graveyard with your White Forest monster and only use its graveyard effects to have an extra extender. It makes it makes summoning Saint Asmina a lot easier, because now you have, when you draw this, you have sort of access to 3 fusion summons with Asmina fusion spells. Like, you have your 1 Debtors, and then you have your 2 activations of Hallowed. And so stuff just gets a lot easier. I don't know how to explain it, but you don't need to do you can be more flexible in your plays. You can um, uh, play around hand traps a bit better because you can set up the Omni super early. You can use it to break boards, yada yada, stuff like that. And then also the one hello. So yeah, this is 20 cards. And then I played, of course, one Deception, and then one Queen Azamina for the meme, for the spice. Then 2 copies of Diffusion Spell, actually, and one Sorceress. So this is a 25 engine, I think. It's quite a lot. But I just wanted to have a bunch of fun, honestly. I didn't want to just jam too much in that engine. Just wanted to play with my Wild Forest cards, my Azamina cards. It was super fun. I was really impressed, and I have been really impressed by the Azamina engine. I actually have this proxy deck here, which I might go over one day, that is just a pure Azamina deck that I just play for fun after locals with my friend. And it's also really strong. The Azamina cards are so strong. And yeah, you might notice here that I'm not playing in trap cards, and I will get into that there in the side deck. But the idea with the main deck was just to play as many Sinful Spells cards as possibly, because we are playing 3 copies of Azamina Debtors, so we just really want to open Debtors plus another Sinful Spells card. I know that you can search the Sinful Spells cards when you play, but having one initially is just infinitely stronger because you can just set up your Omni before you even commit to a play. And so that is why I didn't play Woes in the main deck or Azamina APs, because I just wanted to play a bunch of Sinful Spells cards. And so instead of those 2 cards, I just played an extra copy of Diffusion Spell and a Sorceress. The idea with Sorceress is that you can use it to bring back the Dragoon during your opponent's turn, so you can activate it twice. That was the idea. Obviously, I already told you that I never actually summoned Dragoon. So, but this card was still pretty decent, honestly. It actually came in much more in grindy games and at finishing out games during the battle phase. Because this, of course, summons from the graveyard or banish. So once you know you have put up your board and your opponent starts playing through it, and you know they don't scoop, and it gets back to you. If you search this one as a follow-up, or if you just have it as a follow-up or search it during your follow-up turn, you can just get your boss monsters back pretty fast, honestly. And since you always get to bring back your Hallowed as well, you can pretty much go Hallowed, change Sorceress, and then, you know, get your Diabell back, get your Saint Azamina back, stuff like that. So it was actually pretty okay. I don't know if I would still play it now that I know that I'm not that likely to actually make Dragoon, because it doesn't really add too much to your end board if you don't have something like a soft once per turn that you can reset, right? Because we're not playing Woes, so we are not probably properly summoning the Silvera, so we cannot bring Silvera back from the graveyard. So yeah, I don't know. And then 2 copies of the Fusion Spell. This was actually so worth it. I feel like the Fusion Spell came up a ton. It was just the best card. I just wanted to search the Fusion Spell every time I could search for a White Forest spell, basically, if I'm not searching for tails to extend. Because this one has sort of, it works as an endboard piece. Of course, you set it right and activate it during your opponent's turn. It also works as an extender on your turn, right? You can use it to fusion summon to make, Saint probably. You can also use it to bring out something like an Estella from your hand. At least my combos when I played, I'm using one on my own turn and I'm setting another for my opponent's turn most of the time. So having two was just really nice because I didn't have to worry too much about the sequencing. If I use the first one, then I don't have to be like, oh, I need to go into Diabell, or I need to shuffle it back into the deck with Wanted before I can search it. I can just immediately search the other copy, and that makes a lot of the plays a lot more easier. And sometimes also this would be the spell I'm searching with Elset Azamina. If I already have access to my Azamina engine, this card you can send it to the graveyard obviously, and it comes back, and then you can use it with your Azamina fusion spells when it's set to use it as a simple spell, right? So what I mean is that a lot of time this was just an extender, a resource that I would go through during my turn, and then I would get the second one as the actual endboard piece. But yeah, so I mean that was the whole idea. You could also, of course, play more deceptions, because deception is a pretty nice card going first. However, I wanted to try to make a build that was a bit more viable going second. I know that the normal thing in White Forest is just to hedge really hard against winning that ice roll and going first, and you just focus your deck on winning going first and kind of, assume that you'll lose going second when you lose the die roll. And I just wanted to try something different with the Debtors and the Fusion spell. It actually came up as a board breaker multiple times, both of these cards. Also the Fusion spell. Fusion spell plus Debtors is also a really, really nice board breaking combo. You of course need to be able to play, but if you just open up with something like a Sylvie, and they, go to negate the Sylvie, for example, with a set imperm or something, you can then chain the fusion spell, and then you can maybe make a guardian camera or something like that. And then maybe they do something else, then you chain the Debtors to use the fusion spell as material, and so you actually get two fusion summons once the chain resolves. Stuff like that actually worked out pretty well. And as for the Queen, I never searched her during my combo, pretty much never, unless I just had all the other stuff. And she is pretty good when you do have the other stuff, but when you don't have a lot of stuff, she obviously doesn't extend you into anything. She gives you a bunch of resources in the form of two simple spells names, but that is not, I don't think at least there's a super effective way of doing a minimalistic combo where you go through her. Usually, when you get to such a simple spell, you grab Deception or Wanted or the Fusion spell. And when you get to such an Azamina spell, you usually grab the Fusion spell, or the Debtors or the Azamina set. So you don't, I don't think I searched her that much on turn one when I went first, but I did use her a ton in grindy matchups and to close the game out, because she is a 2500 beater, and when she destroys something, or when any of your White Forest Azamina monsters destroys a monster in battle, you can grab back a simple spells card from your graveyard. And so what you can do is grab something like a fusion spell back from your graveyard, and then you can, in the battle phase, after you have attacked with all your monsters, you can fusion summon into something like a Guardian Chimera, Draco's Depelia, or whatever you have really. And then you can attack again, right? And you can do a lot of cool stuff, I think. Yeah, so she was actually pretty nice all around, especially for just closing out the game. So I didn't really regret her. I didn't brick on her because you know you have the 3 copies of Debtors and a Hallowed, so it's not that often that you brick on her. Also the fusion spell. If you have her with the fusion spell, you can usually just, you know, normal summon a Sylvie, they go to Impermit, you chain the fusion spell, you use the Queen and the Sylvie to make something like a Lago, and yeah, so she is obviously a brick, but there are, I think I maximize, or at least try to maximize the number of cards in the deck that make her not a brick in this build. And she was really nice in the grind game and also just really fun to play with. I'm just gonna say it. She's just super fun to play with, and yeah, definitely don't regret playing her. I might do it again just for the memes, and I will probably brick on her someday. And yeah. So that was it for the engine. I feel like this is a bit out of the ordinary build compared to what I see. Obviously not, you know, crazy out there, just, you know, still playing good cards, but yeah. And then for the engine, I feel pretty confident in this lineup, except that I only have one Fuvelos, but I was playing a board breaker build. I had 3 talents, 3 cold buys. I play 3 Ash as well, just for the Mulchamis, and then 3 Black Goats. And then I have 1 Fuva, 1 cold buy, and 1 Subversion. I would play more Fuvelos if I had more, but I feel like it's kind of a blessing because I don't have to worry about what to take out. And then the Subversion is basically, it's funny because I don't even side this out going first, actually. I side out Droplets over this card because this card is obviously a Sinful Spoils card, and that can actually be pretty huge going first also. So it's not even that bad going first. In this deck, obviously you can break on it, but if you have Adeptors, if you have a Hallowed, if you have any White Forest, I can just send it to the graveyard. If you get to play and you get to your fusion spell, you can use this. Just a lot of uses. I didn't use it going second actually that often, to be honest, because most of the time when I was going second and I was in a position where I was able to play the game, I would search something like a Wanted or a Deception. With my Sinful Spell search, I wouldn't search this. But there were some scenarios where I did use it, especially also in grindy matchups, and I do think that it is a pretty good card. It's just worth noting that sometimes if you can play, you'd rather search, you know, extenders rather than the Subversion. Yeah, so I guess you could also count the Subversion as an engine card if you want to. But this, I just did it this way so that it lined up with 15. Oh, and also the talents. I used to play Thrust. I'm trying to play just talents instead. The idea is that going first, I like talents a bit more because if I get stopped by something like a Droll or a Mulchami, I can at least look at their hand and I can try to take out their only play. And I think that's more powerful than setting some trap card. And then at least game 1. And then also I just noticed that this deck can do so much with just a couple of engine cards. So sometimes if I only have 1 play and it gets stopped by something like a Ash or Imperm, there's a very high likelihood that if I draw 2 cards, I'll draw it into something that lets me extend and go full combo anyway. So I like the talents more than the thrust when going first. And going second, you can maybe argue that thrust is a bit better going second, to be honest. But I still think that the Talons is a pretty strong card going second, especially also, like I said before, sometimes you just draw two because your engine cards do so much, especially if you have them in multiples. So just drawing two is nice. And then for the extra deck, as I said, I was playing this only no Link Monsters meme build, but it actually ended up working out really well, I think. Actually, there was one game in particular where I was being stopped by a lot of hand traps. It was like the board was like this when I passed. Like I just had the Rishialago and the Rishiela. I got Ashed, Impermed, Effect Veiloed, and Fuvelast. And so he basically just stopped me on this. And normally, if I had a Link monster, I'm pretty confident that I would just have linked these off into, something like an SP or something like that. But I actually think that would have lost me the game, because what happened was that he was on Fire Kings and he was not able to OTK me in this position. I think maybe he could have played better. I don't know. I'm personally not really that knowledgeable about Fire Kings, but what happened was that he thought a lot about, if this gets destroyed by battle, I get to search a simple spoil spell, or if it gets destroyed, and this one cannot be destroyed by card effects. So, and of course, I also had the Sylvie in the graveyard to summon back as an extra blocker in combat as well. So I almost died, but I did not die, and I think the reason was that I just had some big bodies, and I think if I had Link Mustard, I would probably have went into those, and maybe that would actually have lost me the game. But yeah, pretty standard in regards to synchros, just a standard 3, and then Chaos Angel, and then also the Muddy. I really like the Muddy because it's a very simple way of making Saint Azamina. You can also, of course, make Dragoon, and that is also pretty good, I think. But I did actually have one game where I basically had nothing, but I had Azamina set, and I was able to synchro summon. And I synchro summoned into Muddy Mud Dragon instead of the usual Silvera. If you don't have any spells and traps in hand, you obviously can't go for the Regiela because you have nothing to send. And so it just doesn't do anything. So normally you just go for the Silvera. But I think in this position, going for the Muddy Mud Dragon is actually a lot more powerful, because if you get to then you get to search a simple spell, and then if you from that point on only really get to play with your simple spoil or your Azamina cards, you can still use this actually to make Saint Azamina pretty easily, of course, with a Risialago, right? So I think the Muddy is actually pretty strong, and not just for making Dragoon, but actually also for making Saint Azamina, and also just basically having another level 6 play that you can go into when you don't have the spell and trap for Rishiela. I guess that's the primary thing. That sometimes you do want to make a level 6 synchro, and you can't for some reason make Rishiela. And having another option that can actually have some merit, I think is actually pretty good. It could also be something like a Triage Master, a Call Dragon, I guess, if you want to have to draw one. But I do think that the utility of the Muddy Mud Dragon, especially with the Azamina cards, is just a little bit stronger. But yeah, and then Azamina cards, basically just the whole thing actually. Ilia Sylvia, the standard ones, and then Moagina, you basically always just summon this with Saint Azamina. You never really make it on your own, although sometimes it is nice just to have an extra thing that you can make. Saint Azamina, of course, this card just completely overperformed and carried me this locals. The thing that makes it so that your opponent cannot target their own stuff comes up so often. Like, for example, against Tenpai, he wasn't able to OTK me with this on the board because, Biden Dragon targets to summon, Fadra targets, and he basically cannot OTK me when I have Saint on the board. Against Crystron, he basically could not really do anything because he couldn't target his own cards. Against Fire Kings, it also really hurts them. Against Malice, they can't use their Bestials as follow-up. I do really think that Saint Asmina is an underrated card, guys. Like, I do think that it's underrated. And then I also played the one Sol because it's pretty good with Debtors. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's good with Debtors because you can use it as Debtors as a board breaker. You can also set Debtors and then during your opponent's turn summon the Sol and have it as an extra interruption. Would I play Sol without Debtors? Probably not. But would I always play Sol if I had Debtors in my deck? Probably, yeah. It's a pretty good card, honestly. And then for the I guess for the other miscellaneous stuff, I had the Albion and the Dragoon. The Guardian Chimera, obviously, it makes the fusion spell super strong. I also played a Dragostapelia. When I go, because this deck is much more focused on the Azamina stuff than usual, right? It obviously still has a bunch of White Forest cards, right? So you still do White Forest stuff. But sometimes all that you end up on is a bunch of Azamina cards, Azamina monsters, and a Diabell, right? You just have Saint, Moragina, Ilia Silvira, and Diabell. And in that case, or when you just go only Azamina combo, right? You sometimes, it's a bit hard to make the Guardian Chimera because you need a monster in your hand to make Guardian Chimera, and usually that's the Ilset, and you'll get the Ilset back once you use Diabell during your opponent's turn. But if your Diabell somehow gets outed before you can activate her, or you just don't get to see your White Forest engine, and when I mean outed, I know that you can use Diabell, you can use Sylvie, for example, in the graveyard and summon her back by shuffling back the Diabell and then get the add back of Elset to the hand. But if your Diabell gets like Ultimate Slayer or something, like that's what I mean. Or if you just don't see your White Forest cards and you're forced to do like a sort of Azamina only combo, then Guardian Chimera can be tough to make sometimes, unless you're willing to use like one of your hand traps in hand. And then Dragostapelia is just a fusion and a dark monster, so you can use Diabell Star plus any of the Azamina. You can just use 2 Azaminas. You can also use Dragoon and Diabell Star, and yeah, so it's pretty easy to make, and sometimes you want to be a bit more proactive with your fusion spell. So when you know there's a play coming, you know that there is a monster that you want to negate, or you just want to use the fusion spell. And I feel like in that scenario, Dragostapelia is, pretty good. And it also gives us a second thing to summon off the fusion spell. When you just, for follow-up, when you, for example, the play I outlined earlier, when you have Queen Azamina and you get to add back the fusion spell, having a second thing to summon is just nice sometimes. So yeah, I liked it a lot, honestly. And then just Choroso for basically just for when you open only Azamina. Or only Sinful Spoils, and you want to go into the White Forest line. I still think that this is worth it to play, honestly. Yeah. Alright, I'm just rambling, but I guess this is kind of my own video. And I was pretty excited about the results of this. And then I guess I'll just go quickly over the side deck. I was playing 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Harpies. I think these are pretty good right now. I feel like people are not expecting back row removal, and so it hits really hard. I wish I had Frost in my main deck so I can search these, but I don't. Then Freelancia for Malice, free trolls for whatever, free meows mainly for Malice and whatever. Yeah, so these are all my going second cards, and then I had 3 going first cards because I do plan on playing 3 Fuvolas, and I always want to side those out going first, so I had 3 going first cards here, and I just chose to play one of each of the trap cards. This is not that serious, honestly. It could be other stuff. You could, like, if you don't like one of these, like if you don't like this one, I don't think many people are playing this. You can just replace it with your favorite going first trap card. Like this could maybe be a skill drain or something. I don't know. You can also play more copies of Woes or more copies of APs if you like them better. I just wanted to have one of each because I like them all, and I think they're good in different situations. So the Betrayal, I think, is really good when you're on the draw, because then you can go for your Deal Bellstar, you can just set this and you have an Omni, and that's pretty alright on the draw, all things considered. Woes, I think, is really good also when you get drawled, and also just when you get completely hard stopped, like 4 hand traps, or you get double Mulchamid or something like that. The Woes is, the nice thing about this is that it's an interruption, but most importantly, it actually also follow up for your next turn, because if you summon out the Azamina set from the deck and use that as synchro material, you get to trigger her effect to search a Sinful Spoils card. And so when you get really hard stopped, it's most likely because you didn't reach your Azamina engine, and or something like that. So having this to maybe buy a turn, because it's not only important to buy a turn, it's also important to actually have something to do on your turn. And so Woes is, I think, the highest, maybe not, maybe this one is actually the highest floor, but this one is the most, this one still has a really high floor, and as opposed to this card, which doesn't give you any follow-up, this also gives you follow-up for your next turn. And then, of course, APs, this card is crazy. It's like better than an Omni if you go full combo, even, just half combo. It's really good, right? Really strong. One thing, though, is that I actually cited these 3 cards in all of my games going first, and I never searched any of them. And that I feel like that's quite saying. I don't know if it was correct. Maybe I have just been practicing my main deck combos so much that I didn't really think too much about searching these cards when I was able to. But in a lot of cases, what I realized was when I was playing is that in the cases where you get to search these, there's often a more safe choice to search. And what I mean by this is, for example, with Woes, right? When you get to search this, you can grab this when you get to search a White Forest spell trap, or just a White Forest card, right? And that's Sylvie, and it's Regiela. And the first search with Sylvie, most of the time, you often search tails, because you pretty much need an extender, because if your Regiela gets stopped, you cannot get to the Diabell without having the tails. And of course, unless you are expecting to get drawled, then you, if you expect to get drawled, then Woes would be better than tails, obviously. But if you expect to get drawled, then sometimes adding the fusion spell would also be pretty good. Because if you, for example, have a Debtors or the Hallowed fusion spell in your hand, adding the fusion spell and then getting drawled lets you still go for an Azamina fusion summon. And then, of course, when you get to search for Riziella, it's just most of the time you, if you haven't gone through Elset, you're searching for Elset. If you just need to make the bell, you maybe get there as a Mina Elset. And if you have all your monsters in rotation, I just usually want to grab the fusion spell. And the reason for that is not that I think that the fusion spell is a better endboard piece than Woes, but the fusion spell actually helps me play further in my own turn. I can use it as an extender. I can use it to summon out Saint Azamina. I can use it as a simple spell, send it to the graveyard if I want to fusion summon with the Azamina fusion spells. And all of those things the fusion spell does, whereas Woes does not do anything, right? It obviously helps you as an endboard piece, but it does not help you play further. And that was basically also why I didn't search APs. And I did, I think one time search this one just because basically Azamina cards are the hardest to search. White Forest cards are the second hardest to search, and the Sinful Spells cards are the easiest to search. So this is, you could say a lot weaker than APs, but a lot easier to search, right? Like, because something like APs, obviously your first search of a White Forest spell would be for the tails most of the time, unless you just expect to get shut down or you're under a Charmy. And your second search of a White Forest spell could be this, but it could also be your Regiela search of an LZ or Azamina LZ, could also be a search for the fusion spell. Then, in regards to searching Azamina cards, it's only Deception and Muricielago that actually does that. And 90% of the time when you activate Deception, you're searching Hallowed Azamina. And when you get to search of Muricielago, you are often searching Wanted, and if you already have Wanted, you are probably, again, right, at least I was searching the fusion spell, because the fusion spell actually lets you play further and extend further, whereas APs does not, right? But I think that this is all sort of conditioned or like premised on the fact that I'm trying to make Saint Asmina on my first turn. So if you're not trying to make Saint Asmina on your first turn, then I can see why you would search these cards instead, right? Because then the fusion spell loses a ton of value because I'm no longer trying to make Saint Asmina, so the fusion spell becomes a lot less attractive. Sinful Spoils cards, you don't need them as much because you're just going for the Ilia Silvia, the Muricielago, and then you're chilling, right? So you're never really in this position where you're just like, give me all the simple spoils cards I can get. But that's how it was for me with this build of the deck. I would just wanted the simple spoils cards because I wanted to make Saint Asmina turn 1. So, I mean, these I think become a lot stronger if you're not trying to make Saint Asmina turn 1. However, Saint Asmina is so good that I think that she's better than any of these turn 1. Maybe not the ABs, maybe the ABs is stronger. But it's close because Saint Asmina also not only as a floodgate, not only makes it so that you won't die as long as she's on the field, she also does a lot for you when you summon her, because she summons Moragina, and then she gets, Moragina summons the Regielago, then you pop the Regielago, search for any simple spell card. So, yeah, pretty much. Also, one last thing about this, one cool thing you can do if you go full Wombo and you get to summon Dragoon, then you can pop your Ilia Silvira and turn her into discard instead. And that also makes your Sorceress a lot better. But yeah, I just thought that it was interesting that I actually never searched these cards, even post-siding going first. I think that is maybe something to be maybe that's a sign, at least for me, that maybe Saint Asamina is just a much better plan than searching a bunch of trap cards. Even though all of these trap cards are really good, maybe making Saint Asamina is just better. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and yeah. Okay, that was basically a very long-winded deck profile. I thought that since I didn't not even do Make Dragoon, that I would try to practice some of the combos that actually came up. And the thing that happened a lot, as you might have guessed, since we play 3 of each, is that I started off with Sylvie or started off with Elset, right? That was like the normal thing. And so what I thought I would wanted to do today is just practice a Sylvie combo and practice an Elset combo. And then just let it be that, because I do plan on taking this build to locals on Saturday, mostly just because I have not really had any time to build up something else. I have been spending a bunch of times on the new Alliance Inside cards. I think I'll make a whole series about those because there's a lot of work to get through in regards to those cards, and how on earth are we going to play them. And I think there's going to be so many different builds, which is wonderful, right? Because I don't know if we will be getting another wave of support after Alliance Inside. So that means that there's so much brewing potential and so many different builds to try out. On the other hand, it's also a bit stressful because when you're trying to figure out what is the most optimal version of it, for example, for nationals or something like that, then, it can be pretty daunting when there are so many options available and so many different directions to take this amazing archetype, right? So, yeah, mostly looking at you field spell, which is a very bittersweet card, but yeah. So anyway, so most of the time, what would happen is that I have, going second, going first, I would just have a Sylvie, right? And then a bunch of other cards. And so what I wanted to do was just do a Sylvie combo, but I don't want to do a one card combo. I want to uh, have some other cards in my hand that I can use as resource. And what I mean by that is normally you go Sylvie Summon, Search Tails, Tails. If you do the one card combo, true one card, you don't have any other cards in hand. The Sylvie combo is pretty bad because you go Sylvie, and you add, of course, Tails. You go Tails and you add Lset, and then you go Lset Summon, and then you go into, again, right? Normally it would be the Silvera, right? Because because you're still looking to go into DFL. And so you get the search here and yada, yada, yada. And you have to play really restrictively, and it's very bad. And to be honest, just having one Sylvie and nothing else, it just does not come up, obviously, right? Because you'd have to be in a grind game, but if you're in a grind game and you top deck Sylvie, you just have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard already. I can assure you, when you're going first, you always have something else. Even if it's just non-engine, you have other cards in your hand. That's also the case for going second, right? Or if you don't, then you have just used all your non-engine, and maybe this scrappy combo is enough anyway. So I will allow myself some non-engine in my hand when I need it. I'm talking about I will allow myself for a pitch of a White Forest monster. I will allow myself for a tribute of deception, of some hand trap in my hand. I know that I'm not playing a ton of hand traps in this build, right? It's supposed to be 6 with 3 Ash and 3 Chummies. But I will still allow myself that, because I think the combo may be just too uninteresting and actually not super realistic anyway. So yeah. But let's see. So I guess I will add something like a droplet to my hand. And I will add something, yeah, of course, the Sylvie, I guess. We're doing a Sylvie cat combo. And then something like a Fovelas, right? And I will also maybe allow myself 2 more cards if we feel like we need it. Actually, let me just do that right now so that, yeah. And then, you know, a talents and an ash blossom, right? I know you really want to save the ash blossom for a Mulchami or for your opponent's turn, and same with the triple tactics. You don't really want to send to the graveyard, but let's just pretend that this is just generic fodder in our hand, and we start out with a normal summon of Sylvie. And of course, here the only meaningful thing we can grab right now is Tails. We activate Tails, and then, you know, since we are not restricted by a true one-card combo, I think I will just grab the L set in this position. Yeah. And then we'll just go L set here, search out the Azamina set. And then we go summon out the Azamina set, and we use her. I want to use her as early as possible for synchro material so that we get the search as early as possible, because the Diabel add back from grave, where you get to add back a spell trap from grave, it becomes so much more valuable if you have your Sinful Spoils cards in your grave. But to do that, we need to have used our Azamina set before we make Diabel as synchro material. So therefore, I will use her right now as a synchro material for... Oh, let me get this makeup out of the way. For Rigiella, maybe I should also turn up this like this, right? Yeah. And then here we go, Azamina set chaining 1. I want you guys to be able to actually see the graveyard as well. Azamina set chaining 1, and then Rigiella chaining 2, send this. And then here, I guess now we have a choice point, right? We get our usual choice points. We can search and a White Forest card or a Light Spellcaster. Now in this build, we can search Estella, we can search Rushiella. Rusha, sorry. In regards to monsters. And Rusha does not really make a ton of sense in this combo. The only thing is that, no, I don't think Rusha makes a ton of sense. You could maybe use an extra body to potentially go into Dragoon. You need 3 bodies for that. The problem is that we really want to use this little set to make Diabel. And once we do that, we have no way of getting access to another level 2 body. So we cannot make Dragoon. And so searching Rusha here in this position does not make a ton of sense. Searching Estella here, it does allow us to make Dragoon, but we need some way of getting her on the field. And that is, of course, the fusion spell. So you could go activate fusion spell, activate Hallowed, chain the fusion spell, summon out Estella, and then use the fusion spell as a material to make an Azamina monster, right? And that would allow us to go for an Estella line, which would allow us to make Mighty Mud Dragon, and would give us bodies for Dragoon as well. Or, we could also just make Saint Azamina. The thing is that it's pretty hard to make Saint Azamina in that particular combo, because you have used your fusion spell to summon out Estella, so you cannot use it to fusion summon Saint Azamina using a level 6 higher synchro, level 6 higher fusion. And also, when you go, if you were to summon out Saint Azamina by sending 2 Sinful Spoils cards to the graveyard, then this combo would also not really allow you to do so, because if we were to do that, then basically if we want to get to the fusion spell and use it to summon out a Stella, then we cannot search the fusion spell with Diabellstar, because Diabellstar would set the fusion spell on the field and we would not be able to use it. So we have to search the fusion spell in another way. And the only other way left to search the fusion spell is through Murcielago, because we have already used, as Mina said. And if we want to use Murcielago to search the fusion spell, then we have to go through Wanted prior to that, because normally we would search Wanted with Murcielago, but you still need Wanted in rotation. So that would mean that our search now with, as Mina said, would be Wanted, and then we'd summon out the Witch. We'd set Deception with the Witch. We'd use Deception. We'd grab the Hallowed. We'd use Hallowed and send the Deception, of course, to make Murcielago. Then we'll search the fusion spell Murcielago. Then we'll add back the Hallowed, and we'll say Hallowed, chain the fusion spell to summon out a Stella, and then we'll get our Ilisilvia, right? So there's no possible way to make Saint Azamina in this line, unless we, of course, do it with Muddy Mud Dragon. So I hope that was not too long-winded, but and then, of course, the other problem with summoning out a Stella is that you need spells and traps. You need a spell and trap to send to the graveyard, and in this current setup here, the only way to get that spell and trap to send to the graveyard for Diabell, or for Estella, sorry, would be to make Diabell and then add something back. For example, the fusion spell. Add the fusion spell back. And that would definitely be a pretty good thing, because then you could send the fusion spell for cost to use the Estella's effect. And since we have not used the fusion spell's add back effect, we can still end on the fusion spell. But another thing that you could, but that would also mean that our Diabell would not, what I'm trying to say is that doing that would mean that Diabell would not really add back a simple spoil spell. Well, it would in this scenario, but it would not add a simple spoil spell for the fusion summoning of Saint Azamina. So we basically have to decide in this position, in my opinion, you have to decide, am I going for a Stella and trying to do some plays with a Stella? Or am I trying to do, to summon out Saint Azamina using Hallowed? Because, of course, you can normally only use Hallowed 2 times. But if we add back Hallowed with Diabell, we can, of course, use it 3 times. But the problem is there actually enough simple spoil spells if we go for the line where we add back the Hallowed one last time with Diabell? Because in that sense, we would in this position search the Deception, and we'd use Deception, and we'd search Hallowed and use Hallowed, sending Deception to make Murcielago. Then Murcielago would search Wanted, we'd add back the Hallowed again, and we'd search for and we'd then be in position where we could, yeah, so then normally you'd add back the Hallowed, and you'd go Hallowed, and you'd chain Wanted, and in this position you'd make the Ilisilvia. And in this position you could go into Diabell and add back a simple spoil spell, like for example the Deception, and then you could go activate Hallowed, chain Wanted, and then send the Hallowed, send the Deception and Wanted, and make Saint Azamina. But the issue is that you are giving up on your Ilisilvia, and as good as Saint Azamina is, it's more important to get the Ilisilvia online. It definitely is more important because of something like Nibiru. And I know that we're past 5 summons, but still. And then also, you know, the Omni just does a lot more for for a lot less. You don't have to spend as many resources, and you'd still get a pretty powerful board. And let's not forget, you can also just make Saint Azamina during your opponent's turn with the fusion spell. So basically, in this sort of very minimalistic Sylvie start, you cannot really get to enough simple spell cards to make all 3 Azamina monsters. You cannot make both Risialago, Ilia Silvira, and Saint Azamina. It's just not possible. Unless you do, unless you go for the Estella line and you make Mighty Mud Dragon. In that case, you actually could. But if we sort of concede, if we just keep that in mind, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here. I guess this is my own video. But if we just keep that in mind, that we can go for the Estella line here, and we can do a lot of extension. And then we also know that if we don't go for the Estella line, there's no way for us to actually summon Saint Azamina. But maybe we don't need to do all that much in this scenario. Maybe if we just go for a minimalistic approach, we would get a better actual end board. And so what is the minimalistic approach in this scenario? Well, it is probably just that we are searching, with this card, we are just searching, basically, you would probably search woes if you had that in your main deck, or APs, or you would search, or in our case, since we don't have those cards in our main deck, we'll just search out the fusion spell, and then we search out deception. We go deception, tribute the Fuvulas something. We make the Risialago, and then we, of course, we search wanted. We make the Ilia Silvira. We have the witch. We then go summon out the witch, and we said something like, again, right? If you'd set the betrayal, maybe. You could also set deception if you knew you're in a grand game. You could set the sorceress, or if you of course search the woes or something like that, you could set the fusion spell with Diabel Star, and that would have you on a field where you would end on Ilia Silvira, Diabel, Murcielago, and Diabel Star, and you'd have the fusion spell set, and then one other one-off that you have in your deck set. And that is pretty strong. But in the Estella line, we actually get the same thing, except that we don't end on the extra one-off. And we don't, get to search any trap card, any woes or APs with this card. We just, because we use her to search Estella. So I have been talking long enough. Let me just show the 2 different styles. Because I feel like I should just show it instead of just talking all the time. But let's say that, okay, so we are on LZ Chainlink, Azamina LZ Chainlink 1, Mauricio, Viciela Chainlink 2. We have sent for cost. So let's try the Estella line. We go add Estella, and then we add here. We add it actually has to be wanted. It's kind of weird. And then here we just go wanted and search out Diabel Star. We go send something like the Fuvulas here for the Diabel Star and use her effect. To set deception. Then we activate deception, and in this position, you probably would tribute the Diabel Star just because Ash is an extra interruption in your hand. And yeah, so I probably would tribute the Dispel Star. If you had an extra spell and trap in this position, you would be able to search out. You would be able to just tribute the LZ instead, because you can get an extra body using Rusha. The thing is, you use a Stella, you summon out Rusha, then you use Estella and Richella to go into Diabella, and that will place Estella in the graveyard. Then you use Rusha's effect to send a spell trap to the graveyard to draw a card, and then Stella's graveyard effect will trigger and come back. And in that scenario, you get an extra body essentially, and so you don't need to tribute the Diabella Star. You can tribute the LZ instead in this position, but I don't think we'll get to an extra spell trap. No, I don't think so. So let's just tribute the Diabella Star here and search out the Hallowed. And we'll just go activate Hallowed here, summon out the Murcielago, and we'll search out the fusion spell. And then we'll go, activate Hallowed, attacking the Azamina set to shuffle it back, add back the Hallowed. Then we go activate Hallowed, chain the fusion spell to summon, and we go summon out Estella, and then we summon out the Elia Sylvia in this situation. And then in this position, we have waited with going into Diabella for this situation. We go into Diabella here, and we activate her effect to add back the fusion spell. And that is our send for Estella. So we send it to the graveyard, and we go summon out Rusha, and we'll get to add back the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. And then we just go these two here into Muddy. And oh, I forgot that we are not trying to make Dragoon. Okay, so no, but it's still the case that yeah, I still think we needed to do it this way. Yeah, because we need to go into Diabella before we use Estella, otherwise we wouldn't have any material for it. But so in this position, you could also just make Dragoon. You could use Sylvie or Rusha here in graveyard, shuffle back this card, and then, of course, go for Dragoon in this position. Maybe you think that is stronger than going into Saint Asmina. And maybe it is stronger, to be honest. The thing is that we do get an extra Search of a Sinful Spoil spell if we go for the Saint here. And the Saint is also, I guess it depends on the matchup, right? I guess it depends on what matchup you are you're looking at. If Saint is really good in that matchup, then you probably make Saint. Otherwise, you probably just go for the Dragoon in this situation, because we do already have the fusion spell. So yeah, let's just go for the Dragoon here, send this, summon this back out, then use this to fusion summon, make the Albion, and then Albion plus Muddy, make the Dark Dragoon, and then you still have the draw of Wanted, which you will need because you need some spell here. You need a spell for Diabel, right? So it is a bit of an awkward position because yeah, okay, we drew the Blackguard Laughs, but if we didn't draw that, then maybe it would be better just to set back Deception and not use the Wanted, even though that obviously feels really bad. And you wouldn't have this issue if you went for the Saint Azamina line, because you do get an extra search in that scenario. So maybe that was the better thing to go for. Also here, you also need to send a card here. Yeah, it's really crucial that you draw a spell and trap off of Wanted in this scenario. So maybe if we just didn't make Dragoon, and we just go these two into Saint, and we go Saint, summon out Moragina, and we go Moragina, summon out the Rishilago, and we activate the Wanted, and we pop, and we get to search something like a Sorceress maybe. And then we still get the Wanted draw here, and you know, this import is obviously a lot weaker in the sense that you have no oh, you could actually, what you could do in this scenario here, oh, I didn't even think of that, is you could go summon out the Rusha here, then you go Rusha, send this to the graveyard to draw a card. Of course it's negated, but it will still trigger a Stella to come back, and then this will set itself. And then you can use these two here to make as Silvera in this position. And you might be like, okay, what the hell? What the hell does that even do? But what it allows us to do is to basically use Sorceress to summon it back, since now it's properly summoned. So on our opponent's turn, we obviously need to get it in the graveyard somehow. So, you know, that might be a bit tricky, I guess. Yeah, that might be a bit tricky. We could use something like a fusion spell here, and we could just go into, well, it's hard to go into Guardian Chimera, but we could go these three here, make Guardian Chimera, right? And that could be a thing. Could also of course make yeah, no, maybe that's weird. I don't know. It was just a cool little thing I figured out, but maybe it's not too good. But anyway, that was the Sylvie line where we searched for Estella. And you know, she does provide you with a bunch of extension, and you can make something like Saint, you can make something like Dragoon. I guess it all depends really on what you have in your hands apart from that. Yeah. So if we maybe try once again and see what happens if we don't go for the Estella line, and So that was pretty much their Stella line. And, you know, it's still pretty powerful, you know. For just starting with one Sylvie, I know we have other cards in our hand, but, you know, just for starting with one Sylvie, I think that's still a strong combo. Will probably win you the game, to be honest. But let's see if we just go Sylvie. So this time I'm trying the maybe more traditional approach and see where it takes us. We go for tails here, and we add LZ. And then we go LZ, send the droplet, summon out, grab the... Oh, she's in the deck, of course. I shoved her in, grabbed Azamina LZ. And then, you know, of course, summon out her. Then go for these two into a Rushiella here, and chaining one as Mina said, chaining two Rushiellas, sent as talents. And then now, I guess, since we're trying to, we're trying not to add a Stella, we can just add the fusion spell, and, you know, this can also just be woes or APs or your favorite kind of white forest card, I guess. And then here, we're probably just adding the deception, right? And we go deception, we tribute out the Fuelas, we add the hallowed, we go hallowed to summon, and we summon out Murcielago, and then effect here to search, we should search out the wanted. Then we just used hallowed, and we target the Azamina set, shuffle her back into the deck, add back the hallowed. And then you see here, I was sort of going through this line before without showing it, but you can make Saint Asmina here. It's not that good because you don't get to Ilias Alir, right? So you can always use a Saint to summon out Ilias Alir, but that is not very good because then you just get the Saint. You don't get the Morgina, you don't get the extra sinful spells, you know, the pop. So yeah, I don't really like that line in particular. So yeah, you can also use the fusion spell here and just make Saint Asamina. You might go into you might go into Diabel first, right? And then just use Diabel and Rushielago to make Saint Asamina. The only issue is that if you use both Diabel and Murcielago to make Saint Asamina, when you summon out Morgina and she gets to summon back an illusion, you'd have to choose between summoning back the Diabel or summoning back the Murcielago. And obviously, you'd most often choose to summon back the Diabel. And that means that you don't get to search the fusion spell because basically you'd have to use Diabel Star and set the fusion spell, and that can also be pretty good, right? So that means you'd end up on Diabel and Saint and Morgina, Ilia Sylvia, and you'd have Diabel Star on the field as well, and you'd have the fusion spell. And that is basically the same thing we had in our previous end board, except instead of the Silvera, it was just it will just be the Diabel Star, and then we don't have the Sorceress set as well. So, you know, not quite as strong in my opinion. Also because we don't have the Estella in rotation. So yeah, so you see the whole dilemma is that we only have 2 activations of the hallowed, right? Because we could, if we in principle had a third activation, we could go into the ability here and we could add back the deception, and that would give us enough material to make both Ilia Silvira and make Saint Azamina, right? But the problem is, of course, that we don't have a second copy of Hallowed or a third activation of Hallowed unless we add it back with Diabel. And if we add it back with Diabel, then we don't actually have enough simple spells to do it. So yeah. If we just choose to go for, let's forget about making Saint Azamina for a moment, and then just say, okay, activate Hallowed, chain wanted, and we go search for our Divelsta, and we make our Ilia Silvira here. Oh yeah, it's in here. So we make Ilia Silvira. And then now, we can actually... Oh, wait, maybe I was wrong. Maybe we can actually make Saint here, because we do get an extra simple spell of Diabelsta. But what would that look like? Because then we need to send this simple spell. We need to send the fusion spell to the graveyard. And we need to send whatever we grab off of Diabelsta to the graveyard as well. And yeah. And that would be something like the Sorceress, I guess. If we fusion summon here in this position, yeah, it doesn't look too great. Yeah, that will just lead to a weaker board than searching the Stella, I'm pretty sure. But if we go something like, we need to send a card to summon out the Diabelsta, I guess. We could send the Risiolago actually, because yeah, we could send the Risiolago because we don't really need it on the field. Yeah, we don't really need it on the field. So let's send the Risiolago to summon out the Diabelsta. And then we set something which I guess will just get lost. So yeah, it's a bit sad, I guess. Something like the Sorceress, for example. We could set that. Another copy of Deception would maybe be nice. And then we go here, we go into Diabel. Oh yeah, it's in here. We go into Diabel and we add back the Hallowed again. And we just go Hallowed, activate Hallowed. We send these 3 or 2 cards to the graveyard. We get to summon out Saint. Get to summon out Morigina. Morigina gets to revive the Morishalago. We do the whole wanted pop thing and we end up on the fusion spell. We end up drawing a card. We end up on the fusion spell. We also have Deception, which is nice. It's just something for Diabel to set. And yeah. And then that's pretty much it. I do really like ending on Diabell Star. And obviously we are also ending on Saint here in this position. We have a spell trap for Diabell. We have the fusion spell. We have Saint. We have one extra draw in our hand, I guess. Like whatever that would be. Yeah, just an extra ash, I guess. Yeah. We never really utilized this Richiella add back for anything. But it can also be a nice thing to have in the graveyard, to be honest, because it lets you make a Guardian Chimera before you commit to Diabell. So it's not even that bad to not have used it. It obviously did feel very weird to just set one random card off of Diabell and then just send it to the graveyard, and that was it, right? If we played the Sinful Spores of Slumber, we could have added it back, which would be pretty decent, to be honest. But then, I mean, we'd had to play a trap card, right? So that has its own troubles. But I mean, this is still a very powerful board, I think. Yeah. If we did not make the Saint Azamina, if we did not do that, we'd basically have to play some more traps in our main deck, right? Because, yeah. But is this better than the Estella thing? Is this better than the Estella thing? Because the Estella thing was also pretty strong, I feel like. Summoning out Estella, and then we'd have to choose between Saint and Dragoon. But Dragoon was obviously, you know. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It is interesting that there are so many different ways of doing the combo, just a Sylvie. This one, I felt like it was basically we're going for. The thing I liked about this one, let me just try to repeat it again. The thing I liked about this one was that we weren't really taking any crazy risks. Like if we just go like with this and with this and with this and with Sylvie, because we just go normal summon Sylvie, and we go add add tails, play tails, and we go go LZ here, we send the droplet, we summon out the LZ, we add the Hello, no, the Azamina. So did I shuffle her in the deck again? Oh wait, it's just, I'm just getting confused. We add this, we summon this, we go into, of course, the Richiella, we send this, and then we added with Richiella, we just added the fusion spell, pretty much. And this is the situation where we could also choose to add Estelle. But of course, adding Estella here in this position is a bit risky, because if you're adding Estella in this position, you're basically saying if I don't get to play, if I don't get to extend, if this Azamina if my deceptions get ashed, if my witch gets impermed or veilered, I will not be able to do anything at all, right? Because if we don't reach the fusion spell, the Estelle just does absolutely nothing in our hand. And so that is one of the reasons I think I like just adding the fusion spell here more. And then, of course, you could also be a woes or something like that, and that would be, I guess, equally good. It's just that it's not a simple spell, right? So you couldn't make Saint Asmina if you did that. And then, you know, we added the deception in this situation. And then we go deception here. And we tribute the Fovelas. We grab Hallowed. And we make our Richelago. And then here also, if this gets hand trapped, we actually have we do actually have the fusion spell right now that we can use to dodge it with. We can actually just make Saint Azamina using these two, which would be pretty crazy because I don't know if we would be able to reach Diabel if we did that. Possibly not. But we could also use El Set, just fusion some these two and make oh, that's also really interesting. Just making Ilia Silvera, like hard making Ilia Silvera using these two cards. That's also really interesting, actually. Whoa, okay, hold on. Richelago effect here, add the wanted. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a gosh damn minute. Because we might not need to activate Hallowed 3 times to make Saint Asmina. And we might not even need to make Saint Asmina using a synchro or a synchro and a fusion monster. If we use this fusion spell to make Ilia Silvera instead. Oh. Because in this position, we do actually have all the necessary pieces. If we go Hallowed here and we shuffle back the Asmina set, add this to our hand, we can actually make Saint and Ilia Silvera. It's just in the opposite order that I thought of. We use Hallowed to make Saint and we use this one to make Ilia Silvera, yeah. Then the only thing is that we don't really want to use either these two as fusion material right now, because then we can't get to Diabel really. So what we need to do is probably get to Diabel and then summon back to Sylvie and use her instead. Yeah, but then what are we adding back with Diabel? Probably just the deception, right? Oh my god. I hope this works. So if you go... Oh, I always look at the wrong pile. If we go Diabel here, and then we go Diabel and we add back... You know, we could also add back Droplet or something, but let's just add back Deception here. And then we go Sylvie effect, and we summon back... We put this back into extra deck to summon it. And then here we go activate Hallowed, activate Wanted, and then chain fusion spell to fusion summon, because this is a light spellcast, this is an illusion. So we use these two here, right? You know, illusion monster plus light spellcaster. We make Ilia Silvera, then we go add our Diabel Star, and then we just summon out Saint Azamina. Huh. Okay, so maybe I've just been thinking about this whole thing in a backwards sense. That I thought I'd use the Sinful Spells of the White Forest to make Saint Azamina, and the Hallowed to make Ilia Silvera, when in actuality it's the opposite. I'm using the Sinful Spells of the White Forest to make Ilia Silvera, and the Hallowed to make Saint. Because now, now we are pretty cooking, right? Because we can go Saint here, summon out Morgina, we go Morgina, summon out Risilago, we go Wanted, targeting Wanted, banish it itself to target Sinful Spells of the White Forest, we go Chain Morgina, pop it, and then we go Wanted resolves here, put this on the bottom, draw a card, then resolve Murugelago, draw the fusion spell, or add the fusion spell. And then we have a lot of stuff here. Yeah. The only thing is that we don't really have a nice set with Diabellstar, because we can go like Diabellstar, send this Ash to the graveyard, and we can set, we don't have a super awesome set in this situation. We could set the Sorceress, I guess. Doesn't really do a whole lot, because we don't have any illusion or spellcaster in our graveyard that we really want to bring back. So maybe I should run the trap, the Sinful Spells of Slumber, or maybe just the betrayal. Betrayal trap could also be pretty strong, honestly. But then we do have the face up deception as well, which is pretty. I really like that, because it's just like you just drain them for 1500. It is pretty goddamn strong, and you drain them for 1500, and then you can just send it to the graveyard with your bell, and it'll come back in the end step. So this board is nice. The only thing that is not nice is maybe this Sorceress, and maybe the Sorceress should just be a trap card, to be honest, because unless we make Dragoon, we don't have anything terribly nice to actually use this for during our opponent's turn. I mean, we could summon back the Saint Azamina, I guess, but it's still like not really that crazy. Could also, of course, maybe just set another copy of Wanted, to be honest. Like, this sounds weird, and maybe it is pretty weird, to be honest, because we have this on the field, so we cannot even activate the Wanted. We need to use it as a fusion material first, but then if we use it as fusion material, it comes back anyway. Yeah, so I don't really like, when we are ending on Diabellstar, I don't really like setting Wanted. But maybe, yeah, so maybe the Sorceress, or possibly, a trap card. Let's just maybe pretend it was this, we played this, or maybe just the Sinful Spells of Slumber. Could also be pretty nice. So this board is nice in the sense that we didn't have to take any risk, like with adding a Stella in our combo. It is also the fact that we end with a Deception face up, and this could of course also have been the Droplet, and maybe, having Droplet and Deception face down is stronger. That could also be the case, possibly, or even adding back the talents if... Yeah, it didn't really matter what we added back in the end. And we do have one card in hand for just I guess, stuff. And then this position here, we'd probably wait until Deception triggers to drain them. Then we can change the Moragina to pop 2 cards. Then after that, we'd probably go Diabel, send this to the graveyard in order to summon out our Book of Eclipse. And then here we'd obviously get the add back of LZ, which is pretty important for our Guardian Chimera. And then we can activate this card here. We can send these two and this to the graveyard in order to summon out the Guardian Chimera, of course. Then the Bellstar will trigger, and we can even use Sylvie in the graveyard, shuffle this back. So we shuffle this back into the extra deck, summon this out. Then when the Bellstar resolves, we can send this to the graveyard in order to summon her back out. And then we get to set a simple spells card, probably a wanted, to be honest, or another copy of Diffusion spell could also be. And yeah, then we also have the Omni. Yeah, okay, so this seems like the way to do it, right? I cannot believe I didn't even think about summoning Ilia Silvera, using the simple spots of the White Forest. All right, I'm going to the bathroom real quick, and I'm gonna go through this one last time to just make sure that I'm, didn't make any giant mistake, and then yeah. All right, I'm back. So this was actually a pretty crazy discovery. Let us try to see if I did actually let's just sanity check. Let's just try doing it the whole thing again, just so I know if I'm, just imagining things, or if this actually was a pretty nice combo. Let's just see here. We opened up, that was a Talons, right? Yeah, Talons, and then an Ash Blossom. Yeah, so a hand like this. And we went normal summon Sylvie. We added the tails. We went activate tails to search out LZ. Then we went LZ, sending the droplet. And we added our Azamina set. Then we summoned out the Azamina set, and we synchro summoned into the Lago, and we said Azamina set chaining 1, Rigiella, chaining 2. We add the fusion spell with Rigiella, and we add deception with Lago. I'm getting tired. Been working all day. Deception activate here, and we tribute our Fovelas, and we search for the Hallowed. We use Hallowed here, and we summon out the Lago. The Lago here will search our Wanted. Then we go into the Diabel. Yeah, pretty much we just go into the Diabel here, and we add back. I guess it doesn't really matter actually what we add back. We can just add back the droplet, I guess, if we don't want the deception phase up. Although deception pretty nice. And then we go activate Hallowed, and we shuffle back the Azamina set, and we add the Hallowed back, and then we go Sylvie here. Obviously this combo does not play around Nib. You can't really play around Nib. Well, you could actually play around Nib with this combo if you chose to not go through LZ. You just go Sylvie. That's one. Azamina set that's 2, Richella, that's 3, then Richelago, that's 4, and then Ilia Sylvia, that's 5. But then you would not be able to do a lot more than that, actually. I don't think so. Yeah, because you would need the LZ, and yeah, you'd have to search the LZ with Ricciella, and then you'd have to get Rusia, and then you wouldn't really have too much to do with the Rusia anyway. But anyways, we summon back Sylvie here, we activate Hallowed, we activate Wanted, and we activate Fusion Spell, and then we go use these 2 to fusion summon Ilia Sylvia, and then add the witch, and then summon out Saint Azamina. Yeah, and then Saint Azamina, summon out Morgina, summon out Mushilago, and then we go Wanted, targeting the spell, chain Morgina, pop this card, resolving the Wanted, putting this on the bottom, drawing a card for Wanted. Oh, it was another card with the fusion spell. Searching the fusion spell, I guess would set something different than like the sorceress, I guess, or probably just a Wanted. And then here we just send whatever we drew to summon out Diabellstar, and Diabellstar here we can then, I guess, set the trap if we played, and then we have this, and Deception will set itself back face down. So we have we pretty much have the nuts here. This is a Sylvie combo, right? You know, who needs Sastella anyway? We can just normal summon Sylvie and do all this. This is a ton of interruptions. Like, this is like a ton of interruptions, floodgates. Yeah. And what does this look like if we try the same, but we open with if we try the same idea, but we open with an LZ instead? I think it should lead to the same outcome, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's try it. We have an Ash, a Droplet, and a Talons, Fovelos, and this time we have an LZ. So we just start off with LZ, send this to add Sylvie. We go Sylvie, add Tails. I guess now we do actually have, it should not matter, right? It shouldn't matter what if we make Diabell. Yeah, I don't think it should matter. So, because it didn't matter what we added back with Diabell last time, so I feel like it shouldn't matter this time. We make Rushiella here, Rushiella, we send the Tails, we add the fusion spell, then Tails will set itself back, and we activate Tails, and we grab the LZ Azamina. We summon out the LZ Azamina. We use this to make Diabell, and we just add back the Droplet, I guess, and we search out the Deception. We activate Deception. We tribute the Fovelos, and we add the Hallowed, use Hallowed, summon out Lago, and we add the Wanted. Then here we go Hallowed, shuffle back the Azamina set to add back, and we go Sylvie, shuffle back the Richella to summon back. And then we just go hallowed to fusion summon, wanted, and chain this card here, and we go these two to fusion summon the Ilia Silvera. We resolve the wanted, we add the Diabell Star, and we resolve the hallowed, and we add the saint. And we go Saint here, summon out the Morgana. We go Morgana here, summon out Rishialago. Activate wanted, targeting this, chain Morgana, pop the Rishialago. And we go to resolve the wanted draw. And we put this on the bottom and we draw. And then here, I guess we just send, and then we get to search the fusion spell. And yeah, I guess we just go to send, I guess in this scenario, we just send the talents because we are playing uninterrupted. And then we just go set, yeah, probably set the trap here. The sorceress, I don't think will do too much. Will not do too much, so I don't think there's, I don't think setting sorcerers here is that crazy good. And then we go to end, and we have the deception setting itself. So we have deception, fusion spell, blackwood last. That is, I mean, this is this was pretty much just the same thing, to be honest. The only thing is that we have an extra card in hand because we were able to use the tails as a resource material, or to send it to graveyard with Rishiala. Okay, yeah, I mean, this seems the way to do it. I can't believe I didn't think of this. I'm so happy that I sat down and worked on this combo, because I don't think I'd have realized it if I didn't really think down and sit down and try it out. But this just goes to show there's so many different variations of how you can do just a Sylvie one card combo. Really, there's thousands. I do actually think there's probably 1,000 different ways you could do it. But I like this one quite a lot. I mean, there's no Dragoon. So, you know, it's just hard to make Dragoon with just another set or just a Sylvie normal summon. And also, I do think that this is better anyway than Dragoon. The thing I like about this is that this is just playing naturally, right? Like, there's no point really in this combo where we are opening ourselves up in a very massive way. Maybe except when we use the fusion spells we fusion summon, they could drop Nib at that point and we would not be able to fusion summon, but we'd still be able to summon out the Saint, and the Saint would summon Morgana and would also summon back the Diabell anyway. So all that would have done is that we wouldn't end up on the Ilia Silvera, and we can then set our second copy of the fusion spell, or just shuffle back the fusion spell and set it again with Diabell Star, so that we would lose out on this. So that would be impactful to Nibiru's at that moment, but it would not completely wreck us at all. And if they let the chain resolve, then of course Ilia Silvera is on the board, so they can't nip us after. Yeah, so that was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We got to 2 hours again, I guess. I'm really happy that I found this combo. I think it's actually super neat. So yeah, thanks for watching.